The night has already begun to move its quiet wings. Somewhere beyond your walls, beyond the soft limits of this room, a bird passes through the dark. You cannot see it, but you can imagine the gentle shift of air as feathers part the night. No urgency, no destination you need to follow. Just motion. Smooth, unhurried, instinctively calm. In the darkness, birds do not rush. They glide, they rest, they trust the invisible currents that hold them aloft. And as you listen now, you're invited into that same gentle trust. Welcome to AstraFlow. Here, science drifts like starlight, and curiosity becomes calm. Tonight, let your thoughts slow down, your breathing find its rhythm, and your mind float through wonder. If this is your first time here, or if you're someone who returns night after night, notice where you are right now. Maybe you're lying in bed, eyes heavy. Maybe you're listening from a familiar place, one you associate with rest. Wherever you are, this moment belongs only to you. And if this calm journey brings you peace, you can gently support AstraFlow by liking this video or subscribing. It helps this quiet corner of the cosmos keep glowing. Tonight, we're drifting into the soft, living world of birds. Birds are often seen in motion, wings beating, silhouettes crossing the sky. But their true nature is just as much about stillness, about balance, about knowing when to move and when to rest. They have existed alongside humans for as long as we have looked upward, reminding us that life can be light, even when it is grounded in physics and bone and breath. As you settle in, there is nothing you need to remember, nothing you need to hold on to. These gentle facts are not meant to be learned in the usual way. They are meant to pass through you slowly, like air through feathers. If your attention drifts, that is perfectly natural. If sleep arrives early, that is welcome too. Tonight's journey will move gently, from small details to wider horizons, from simple science to quiet reflection. We will visit wings and feathers, songs and migrations, rest and motion, and all the while your body can soften, your jaw can loosen, your breath can lengthen. Now, let's begin tonight's voyage into the quiet story of birds. Before we drift any farther, let's pause with a single gentle question. Why is it that watching birds feels so calming to us? It's a feeling many people recognize without needing to name it. You might be walking outside, lost in thought, when a bird lifts from a branch. For a moment your attention follows it upward. Your breathing slows. Something inside you softens. The mind, which moments before was busy and crowded, grows quieter, almost without effort. This reaction is not accidental. It does not come from excitement or surprise. It comes from something deeper and older. Birds move through the world in a way that feels unburdened. They are not rushed by clocks or schedules. Their lives are shaped by light, by weather, by seasons, by rhythms far larger than any single moment. When we watch a bird, part of us recognizes that rhythm. Birds live at the edge between effort and ease. Flight, which seems miraculous to us, is for them an ordinary act. Resting, which we often struggle to allow ourselves, is something they do instinctively. They perch, they settle, they wait. They do not feel guilty for stillness. And so the question becomes softer, less analytical. Why does our nervous system relax in their presence? Why does the mind loosen when wings pass overhead? Why does a simple bird song feel like permission to slow down? Perhaps it is because birds remind us of a version of life that is lighter, not easier, but more in tune. A life where movement happens when it is needed, and rest happens when it is possible. A life where energy is conserved, not constantly spent. As you lie here now, listening, you don't need to answer this question. You don't need to solve it. Let it hover gently above you, like a bird gliding on a warm current of air. In the next moments, we'll begin to explore this world slowly, not to analyze it deeply, but to feel our way into it, to let understanding arrive quietly, the way sleep does, For now, just notice your breath, in and out, like wings opening, then folding again. Birds belong to a vast and ancient family of life, one that has been shaping the skies for more than 100 million years. But tonight, we don't need numbers or timelines. We only need a feeling for what birds are and how they move through the world. At their simplest, birds are warm, breathing creatures shaped for lightness. They are made of bone and muscle, air and heat, feather and instinct. Every part of them is tuned for balance, not just balance in the air, but balance in life itself, between effort and rest, motion and stillness. Birds exist all around us, often unnoticed, on rooftops, in trees, along wires that stretch across the sky like quiet lines of music. They live close to humans, yet remain slightly distant, as if they belong partly to another layer of reality. We hear them more often than we see them, a call from somewhere unseen, a flutter behind leaves, a shadow passing over ground. This partial presence is part of their calming power. Birds do not demand attention, they offer it gently. If you look, they are there. If you don't, they continue on without concern. Their lives unfold alongside ours, not intersecting sharply, but flowing quietly in parallel. From a scientific view, birds are marvels of efficiency. Their bodies are streamlined, their systems are economical, nothing is wasted. But tonight, science does not need to feel technical. It can feel like appreciation, a slow noticing of how carefully life can be shaped. Birds remind us that complexity does not have to be loud. A wing is not just a tool for flight. It is a surface that listens to air. Feathers are not just decoration. They're insulation, communication, protection, and sometimes silence itself. Even birdsong, which feels musical, is also practical, a way to mark space, attract companionship, or stay connected. And yet, when we hear it at night or early morning, it doesn't feel like information, it feels like atmosphere. As we move forward, we will wander through these gentle facts one by one, not in a straight line, but in a slow, looping path, the way a bird might circle before landing. Some ideas will be light and brief, others will linger longer, inviting rest. You don't need to hold on to each detail. Let them arrive, then drift away, like feathers carried on air. The goal is not to learn birds. The goal is to rest beside them, long before cities, before written words, before even human voices shaped language. Birds were already singing. Their songs are among the oldest continuous sounds on Earth, not preserved in stone or ink, but renewed each morning, again and again, across generations. When a bird sings, it is not performing for an audience. It is participating in a rhythm that began long before us and will likely continue long after. From a scientific perspective, birdsong serves clear purposes. It marks territory. It attracts a mate. It signals presence. But when heard in stillness, especially at dawn or dusk, these explanations fade into the background. What remains is the feeling of sound moving gently through space. Birdsong is light. It does not press against the ear. It arrives, hovers for a moment, and disappears. Unlike human noise, it rarely demands attention. It invites it. Different birds sing in different ways. Some repeat simple phrases over and over like breathing patterns. Others weave longer, more intricate melodies, as if testing the shape of the air. But none of them rush. Even the quickest calls leave small pockets of silence between notes. Tiny pauses that allow the sound to settle. These pauses matter. Silence is not the absence of birdsong, it is part of it. Our nervous systems seem to recognize this instinctively. Studies have shown that natural sounds, especially birds, can reduce stress and soften mental tension. But you don't need studies to feel it. You only need to remember a quiet morning, a window slightly open, a bird singing somewhere unseen. In that moment, the mind often does something unusual. It stops reaching forward. Birdsong exists in the present. It does not build toward a climax. It does not expect a response. It simply unfolds note by note, breath by breath. Listening becomes effortless because there is nothing to anticipate. As you rest now, you might imagine a single bird calling softly from a distance. You don't need to picture it clearly. Just the idea of sound floating gently through space is enough. Let the sound come. Let it fade. Let the silence after it feel just as important. Like sleep, birdsong does not need to be forced. It arrives when conditions are right, when the world is quiet enough to receive it. A feather is one of nature's quiet masterpieces. At first glance it seems simple, light, delicate, almost fragile. But in reality, a single feather is a carefully structured system designed to hold warmth, shape air, reflect light, and remain strong while weighing almost nothing. Tonight, we don't need to remember its parts or names. We only need to feel what feathers do. Feathers are the reason birds can live in cold mornings and high altitudes. They trap thin layers of air close to the body, turning moving wind into stillness and stillness into warmth. Even when the world around them feels harsh, birds carry a soft pocket of calm with them, wrapped gently in feathered layers. This is not excess. It is efficiency. A bird does not wear more than it needs. Its feathers adjust automatically. When the air is cold, they fluff slightly, creating space for warmth. When the air is warm, they lie flat, releasing heat. There is no decision-making, no struggle, just quiet responsiveness. Feathers also carry light. Some reflect sunlight in subtle colours, blues that come not from pigment, but from structure. Tiny patterns within the feather bend light in specific ways, creating shimmering hues that shift as the bird moves. These colours are not always meant to be seen by us. Often they are signals for other birds, visible in ranges of light our eyes cannot detect. And yet, even without understanding this, we sense something calming in the way feathers catch the sun. They soften brightness. They break light into gentler tones. At night, feathers become something else entirely. They absorb sound. They muffle movement. Many birds can fly almost silently because their feathers are shaped to reduce noise. In the dark, quiet flight is safety. Imagine that now. Wings moving through the air without sound. No rush, no disturbance, just smooth passage. As you lie here, you can borrow that image. Let your own body feel lightly covered, protected, insulated from the noise of the day. Let your thoughts be wrapped gently, the way a bird wraps itself in feathers before sleep. You don't need to hold on to warmth. You don't need to chase rest. Like feathers, calm can settle naturally. When you allow space for it, inside a bird's body there is more space than you might expect. Bird bones are not solid in the way ours are. Many of them are hollow, threaded with thin internal supports that give strength without weight. This design does something remarkable. It allows a body to remain sturdy while staying light, not fragile, not weak, simply efficient. From a scientific point of view, hollow bones reduce mass, making flight possible. But tonight, we can think of them in a gentler way, as an example of how strength does not always require heaviness. Birds carry only what they need. Their bodies are shaped to move easily through air, to respond quickly to subtle changes in wind. There is no excess, no unnecessary burden. Every structure serves multiple purposes, quietly and without waste. Some of these hollow spaces connect directly to a bird's breathing system. Air flows not just in and out of lungs, but through the body itself, passing into air sacs that help regulate temperature and supply oxygen efficiently. Breathing, movement, and balance are all linked together in a single flowing system. Breath becomes motion. Motion becomes balance. Balance becomes ease. This is very different from how we often live. Humans tend to accumulate objects, responsibilities, thoughts. We fill every space, We carry weight long after it is useful, and when we lie down to rest, that weight can follow us. Birds show another possibility. Imagine what it might feel like to have a little more space inside. Space for breath to move freely. Space for thoughts to pass through without sticking. Space where effort is replaced by gentle support. As you breathe now, notice the pause between breaths. That small, hollow moment. That quiet space. It is not emptiness. It is possibility. Birds trust these spaces, they rely on them. And because of that trust, they float. You don't need to float tonight. You only need to rest. But perhaps you can allow a little lightness, just enough to let the day loosen its grip. Let your breath move softly through you. Let your body feel supported by the surface beneath you. Let space do some of the work. A wing is not a flat thing. It curves gently, almost imperceptibly, like a quiet smile shaped from bone and feather. This curve is what allows air to behave differently above and below the wing. Not dramatically, not violently, just enough to create lift, a soft difference in pressure that invites the bird upward. From the outside, flight can look like effort. Wings move, muscles work, but much of what keeps a bird aloft is cooperation, not force. Air flows faster over the curved top of the wing, slower beneath it. The bird is not pushing against the sky, it is being held by it. This is one of the most calming truths of flight. Birds do not fight the air, they shape it, they listen to it, they let it do part of the work. Even the motion of wings is slower than we often imagine. Many birds glide between flaps, resting briefly on invisible currents. Their wings are sensitive instruments, constantly adjusting, tilting slightly, folding a little, opening again. These movements are small, almost delicate, yet they maintain balance with extraordinary precision. There is no rush in this system, only responsiveness. As you rest now, you might imagine that same gentle support beneath you. The bed, the chair, the floor, all holding you without asking anything in return. You don't need to tense to stay in place. You don't need to manage gravity. Support is already there. The shape of a wing teaches us something subtle. Progress does not always come from effort. Sometimes it comes from alignment, from finding the shape that allows things to flow naturally. Your body knows this, even if your mind forgets. Muscles soften when they no longer need to hold. Breath deepens when it is not controlled. Thoughts slow when they are no longer pushed forward. Like a wing resting on air, you can allow yourself to be held by this moment. Nothing to prove, nothing to push, just gentle balance. Not all flight looks the same. Some birds flap quickly, working in short bursts. Others rise and then seem to stop moving altogether, wings stretched wide, carried by currents you cannot see. These birds are not working less, they are working differently. They are reading the air, sensing warmth, pressure and motion, and adjusting themselves with patience. This is called soaring. Warm air rises from the ground in slow columns, especially during the day. Birds that know how to find these invisible pathways can circle within them, gaining height without flapping. To an observer, it looks like ease. To the bird, it is attentiveness. Effort is not eliminated. It is minimized. The bird does not rush upward. It allows itself to be lifted gradually, quietly. There is time. There is space. There is no need to hurry. Even when birds glide, they are not falling. They are exchanging height for distance, moving forward smoothly, conserving energy. Flight becomes a conversation with gravity, not a battle against it. This balance between action and letting go is something many of us forget. We're often taught to push, to strive, to keep moving forward with constant effort. Rest can feel undeserved. Stillness can feel unproductive. But birds remind us that efficiency includes rest. That movement can be gentle, that pausing does not mean stopping. As you lie here, consider how much effort you're using right now. Is your jaw holding tension? Are your shoulders lifted slightly? Is your breath shallow, waiting for something? You don't need to fix any of it, just notice. Like a bird finding a warm current, you can let go of a little effort at a time. Let the surface beneath you carry more of your weight. Let your breath lengthen without direction. There is nothing you need to accomplish in this moment. Rest is not something to earn, it is something to allow. Flight at its calmest is simply cooperation. Some of the smallest birds on Earth travel the farthest. There are birds that weigh no more than a few coins, yet cross oceans. Birds with hearts no larger than a fingertip that move between continents, guided by seasons rather than maps. From a distance, this can seem astonishing, but for the bird, it is simply life unfolding as it always has. Migration is not a single act of endurance. It is a series of gentle decisions: when to leave, when to rest, when to continue. Birds do not rush the journey. They move in stages following weather, light, and instinct. They stop when they need to. They wait when conditions are not right. This is one of the quiet truths of long journeys. They are not completed all at once. A bird may travel thousands of kilometers, but it does so one wing beat at a time. One night of rest, one stretch of sky. The journey is not held in the bird's mind as a whole. Only the next moment matters. Science tells us that these birds store energy efficiently, building reserves of fat that fuel their flight. Their bodies change subtly before migration begins. Muscles strengthen, metabolism adjusts, everything prepares, calmly, gradually. There is no panic in this preparation. As humans, we often feel overwhelmed by distance, by how far we have to go, by how much remains unfinished. Birds offer another perspective. You do not need to carry the entire journey in your thoughts. You only need to be present for the part you are in. As you rest now, imagine a small bird settling somewhere safe after a long flight. It does not think about how far it has come, it simply rests. Breath slows, feathers adjust, eyes close. You can do the same. You have already travelled far today, through conversations, tasks, thoughts, emotions. Tonight, there is no more distance to cover. This moment is a resting place. Let your mind stop measuring progress. Let your body settle where it is. Like a small bird at the edge of a vast journey, you are allowed to pause. When birds migrate, they are not following a single memory in the way humans remember a place. They are guided by many layers of knowing, some learned, some inherited, some felt rather than remembered. Young birds often travel routes they have never flown before, guided by instincts written quietly into their bodies. Older birds refine these paths, adjusting them with experience, weather, and time. Scientists have discovered that birds can sense Earth's magnetic field. Tiny structures in their eyes and brains allow them to perceive direction in ways we cannot consciously imagine. To a bird, north and south are not abstract ideas, they are sensations, subtle shifts in perception. A gentle inner compass that hums softly, always present. Birds also use stars. On clear nights, migrating birds orient themselves by familiar patterns in the sky, not by naming constellations, but by recognizing relationships, how lights move around a central point, how the sky turns slowly through the night. This knowledge does not feel intellectual, it feels like belonging. Memory, for birds, is distributed. It lives in muscles that know when to rest, in eyes that recognize coastlines and rivers, in timing that responds to lengthening days or cooling air. Migration is not about recalling a destination in detail. It is about responding correctly to the present moment. This is another reason migration feels calming to think about. It is purposeful, but not anxious. Directed, but not rushed. Birds do not worry about getting lost. They adjust. They respond. They trust the signals available to them. As you lie here, you don't need to know where your thoughts are going. You don't need to guide them towards sleep. Like a migrating bird, you can rely on gentler cues. Notice the weight of your body, Notice the steady rhythm of breath. Notice the quiet darkness behind your eyes. These are signals too. They're guiding you, not across continents, but toward a rest. You don't have to remember how to sleep. Your body already knows the way. There is a moment in a bird's day that often goes unnoticed. It is not the moment of flight or song or movement. It is the moment of complete stillness, when a bird rests on a branch, feathers settled, body balanced so perfectly that effort disappears. A bird does not cling tightly when it rests. Its feet lock gently around the branch through a natural mechanism that requires no muscle tension. Once settled, the bird can relax fully, even while perched above the ground. Balance is maintained without thought. Stillness becomes safe. This is important. Rest, for a bird, does not require constant alertness. It does not require readiness. It is genuine rest. You might imagine this bird now. The branch is quiet. The air is calm. There is no wind strong enough to disturb the moment. The bird's chest rises and falls almost imperceptibly. Breathing is slow. Even the mind of the bird, in its own way, has softened. Nothing needs to happen next. This is the deepest lesson birds offer us. Stillness is not absence. It is presence without effort. As humans, we often struggle with this. When we stop moving, thoughts rush in to fill the space. The mind looks for something to do, something to solve. But birds show us that stillness can be complete without becoming empty or restless. Imagine your body resting the same way, supported, balanced, held without gripping. Your muscles do not need to stay alert. Your face does not need to hold expression. Your breath does not need guidance. It already knows its pace. If a thought drifts by, let it pass like a distant movement in the leaves. You don't need to follow it. The branch beneath you is stable. This moment is stable. There is no future you need to prepare for right now. There is no past you need to revisit. There is only this quiet pause, this resting place, where nothing is asked of you. Like a bird on a branch, you are allowed to be completely still. There are certain hours of the day when the world feels softer. Just before the sun rises, and just after it begins to set, birds often sing the most. These moments, dawn and dusk, are thresholds. Light is changing, air is cooler, sound travels farther, carried gently through stillness. From a scientific perspective, birdsong is more effective at these times. Fewer competing noises, calmer air, better acoustics. But for us, the effect is emotional before it is logical. A bird singing in low light feels like a signal that it is safe to slow down. At dawn, birds announce presence rather than urgency. The night is ending. The day is arriving gradually. There is no sudden switch, just a soft unfolding. Song becomes a bridge between darkness and light. At dusk, the songs change. They're often shorter, simpler, as if the day is being gently closed rather than opened. Some birds fall silent entirely, retreating into feathers and branches. Others offer a few final notes like quiet acknowledgements that the light is leaving. These sounds are not instructions, they are not alarms, they are markers of rhythm. Your body understands rhythm deeply. That is why hearing birds at these times can feel grounding. They align with your internal clock, reminding you that rest and activity are part of a larger cycle. Nothing needs to be rushed. Everything has its moment. As you listen now, you might imagine yourself in one of these threshold times. Perhaps the sky is dim, colours are muted, the world feels paused, as if holding its breath. A bird sings somewhere nearby. You don't need to locate it. You don't need to analyse the sound. Let it simply exist in the background of your awareness, like a soft layer of calm. These moments, dawn and dusk, teach us something gentle. Transitions do not have to be sharp. Change does not need to be loud. You're allowed to move into sleep the same way the world moves into night, gradually, quietly, without resistance. Birds are always communicating, but rarely in ways that demand attention. Their sounds are brief, purposeful, often soft. A short chirp to check for presence, a call to stay connected while moving, a gentle warning that does not linger once the moment has passed. Bird communication is efficient, just enough and no more. Unlike human language, bird song and calls are not meant to carry complex ideas. They carry states of being, safety, location, readiness, belonging. These sounds do not pile up. They resolve quickly, leaving space behind. Silence returns. This is one of the most calming aspects of birds. They do not fill the air continuously. They respect quiet. From a biological view, this makes sense. Sound takes energy. Attention takes energy. Birds can serve both. Their communication is shaped by the environment, by the need to be heard without being exposed, by the need to connect without lingering. As listeners, we sense this balance instinctively. When we hear birds, our minds do not strain to interpret meaning. There is no story to follow, no expectation to respond. The sound arrives, and then it's gone. This allows the brain to remain relaxed. Think of a single chirp. It appears, it fades, the air returns to stillness. As you rest now, you can allow your thoughts to behave the same way. A thought might arise, a memory, an image, a fragment of planning. You don't need to engage with it. Let it call briefly, then fade. Your mind does not need to be silent to rest. It only needs space between sounds. Birds understand this naturally. Their world is not crowded with constant noise. It is shaped by brief signals and long pauses, and in those pauses, life continues, quietly, efficiently, peacefully. Let your inner space widen a little. Let the gaps grow softer and longer. Like the language of birds, rest does not require explanation. A nest is not meant to last forever. This is one of the most peaceful truths about it. Birds do not build homes to endure years or generations. They build them for a moment in time, just long enough to shelter life while it is fragile, just long enough to serve a purpose, and then to be released back into the world. Nests are made from what is nearby: twigs, grasses, leaves, bits of bark, feathers, sometimes even soft fibres left behind by other animals or by humans. There is no search for perfection, only suitability, only enough. From a scientific view, nests are carefully designed. Each shape holds warmth, protects from wind, or hides from view. Some are woven tightly, others are loose and open. Each reflects the environment and the needs of the bird that builds it. But no nest is excessive. Nothing is added without reason, and no nest is permanent. When the season passes, birds leave them behind. The structure weathers, it loosens, it becomes part of the landscape again. There is no attachment, no attempt to preserve what has already served its purpose. This can feel very different from the way humans treat spaces. We often cling to places, routines and roles long after they are needed. We carry them with us, even into rest. But birds remind us that shelter can be temporary and still be enough. As you lie here now, consider the space around you. This bed, this room, this moment. They do not need to be perfect. They only need to support you right now. You do not have to solve tomorrow. You do not have to carry yesterday. You're allowed a temporary nest, a place where your body can soften, a place where your thoughts can settle, a place that exists only for rest. Like a bird, you can trust that when this moment ends, something else will be ready to hold you. But for now, this is enough. Let yourself rest in it. Inside an egg, everything begins in quiet. There is no movement that can be seen from the outside, no sound, no sign of what is slowly taking shape within. And yet, life is unfolding with extraordinary precision. Cells divide, structures form, time moves forward, gently and invisibly. An egg is both strong and fragile. Its shell feels firm in the hand, yet it can crack with very little force. This balance is intentional. The shell must protect what is inside, while still allowing breath to pass through tiny pores. Oxygen enters, carbon dioxide leaves. Life breathes long before it ever sees the sky. From a scientific perspective, this exchange is crucial. Without it, development would stop. But from a quieter view, it feels symbolic. Even in complete stillness, connection is maintained. Life does not grow in isolation. It grows in gentle exchange with the world around it. Inside the egg, warmth matters. A parent bird sits patiently, sharing heat without urgency. There is no forcing of growth, no speeding things up. Development happens at its own pace, guided by temperature, time, and biology. Too much disturbance can cause harm. Too little warmth can slow progress. Everything depends on balance. As you rest now, you're not so different. Your body also needs warmth, stillness, steady conditions. Sleep is not an active process. It is something that unfolds when the environment feels safe enough. Imagine the egg now, held securely in its nest. Nothing inside it is worried about the future. Nothing is rushing to emerge. Growth happens because it can, not because it is demanded. You don't need to prepare for tomorrow tonight. You don't need to solve anything before sleep arrives. Like life inside an egg, rest comes when conditions are right. And right now, you're allowed to be fragile and protected at the same time. Before a bird ever stretches its wings, it spends time growing in near complete silence. Inside the egg there is no light, no soundscape, no sense of direction, and yet the body knows exactly what to do. Organs form in a precise order, bones lengthen, muscles take shape, feathers begin as ideas, written quietly into cells long before they ever meet the air. This growth does not require awareness. The bird does not think its way into existence. It does not plan or worry or rush. Growth unfolds because the conditions are steady enough to allow it. Silence is not an obstacle. It is the environment that makes becoming possible. In our waking lives, silence can feel uncomfortable. We fill it quickly, with sound, with thought, with distraction. But in nature, silence is often where the most important work happens. Seeds grow underground. Snow accumulates quietly. Cells divide without announcement. And birds grow in darkness, guided by timing rather than intention. There is something deeply calming in this idea. It reminds us that not all progress needs to be visible. Not all change needs to be felt. Sometimes the most meaningful movement happens when nothing seems to be happening at all. As you rest now, your body is also doing quiet work. Muscles release tension, breath deepens and slows, the nervous system shifts toward repair. You don't need to supervise this process. You don't need to stay alert to make sure rest is happening correctly. Like a growing bird, your body already understands the sequence. If your mind drifts, let it. If it becomes quiet, let that happen too. Silence does not mean emptiness, it means space. Space for restoration, space for balance, space for becoming whole again. Tonight, you're allowed to grow inside silence. The first flight of a young bird is rarely graceful. Wings are unsure. Movements are uneven. Balance is learned slowly, through trial rather than certainty. A bird does not wake up one day knowing how to fly perfectly. It learns by stepping into the air before it feels ready. There is no dramatic preparation. Often the moment comes quietly. The nest feels smaller. The edge feels closer. Curiosity and instinct lean forward together, and then a small hop, a sudden drop, a few frantic wing beats. Sometimes the bird rises, sometimes it lands awkwardly nearby. Either way, learning begins. From a scientific view, this process is essential. Muscles strengthen through use. Neural pathways refine themselves with repetition. Coordination improves not through instruction, but through experience. Flight is not memorized, it is embodied. And importantly, early flight is brief. Young birds do not stay airborne for long. They rest often, they pause, they try again later. There is no expectation of mastery on the first attempt. Progress happens in short bursts, separated by stillness. This rhythm is gentle. It reminds us that learning does not require pressure. Growth does not demand perfection. Even in nature, becoming skilled is a slow unfolding. As humans, we often forget this. We expect ourselves to know how to do things immediately, to manage emotions, to rest properly, to fall asleep on command. When we struggle, we judge ourselves. We push harder. But birds show us another way. You do not need to be good at rest. You do not need to succeed at sleep. You are allowed to be awkward. You are allowed to drift in and out of awareness. You are allowed to rest in short moments, then settle deeper later. Learning to fly is not about staying aloft. It is about trusting the air enough to try. Tonight you don't need to fly anywhere. You only need to trust that rest will catch you, even if it feels uneven at first. There is a moment just before a bird leaves the ground. It is brief but complete. The body is still. Wings are folded. The bird seems to do nothing at all, and yet everything is ready. Muscles are balanced. Breath is steady. The world narrows to a single point of attention. This pause is not hesitation. It is alignment. In this instant, the bird is neither resting nor flying. It is simply present. The air is felt. The ground is felt. Gravity and lift coexist quietly. There is no rush to escape the earth, and no resistance to leaving it behind. Then, without drama, the bird lifts. What makes this moment so calming to imagine is not the flight that follows, but the stillness that comes before it. Nature allows, even requires, a pause. Action grows out of quiet, not tension. This is a deep rhythm. The heart slows before movement. The breath settles before change. The body gathers itself without force. As you lie here now, you are in a similar pause. There is nowhere you need to go, nothing you need to transition into. Sleep does not need to be chased or triggered. It arrives when the body feels aligned, when effort has softened enough to let it in. You may notice tiny sensations right now. The weight of your hands, the contact of your back with the surface beneath you, the gentle space between breaths. These are signs of alignment. You are not falling asleep yet. You are not fully awake either. You are simply here, balanced between states. Like the pause before takeoff, this moment is complete in itself. It does not need to lead anywhere. If sleep comes next, it will come naturally. If thoughts drift, they will drift without urgency. Nothing is missing. Nothing needs to happen. Rest can begin in stillness. Birds do not experience time the way we do. They do not divide their days into hours or minutes. They do not rush toward future deadlines or replay past moments. Their sense of time is shaped by light, temperature, and movement, by cycles rather than clocks. Morning arrives when light changes. Rest comes when energy fades. Migration begins when days shorten or lengthen. Time, for a bird, is circular. This is why birds feel so closely tied to seasons. Their lives unfold in repeating patterns: nesting, feeding, resting, travelling. These patterns do not feel repetitive, they feel reliable. Each cycle carries a quiet familiarity, even as details shift from year to year. From a biological perspective, birds have internal clocks tuned to daylight. Hormones respond to changes in light, guiding behaviour without conscious thought. A bird does not decide to rest earlier in winter, its body simply knows. This kind of timekeeping is deeply calming. It removes choice from moments that don't require it. It reduces decision-making. It allows energy to flow toward what matters most in that season of life. As humans, we often override our internal rhythms. We stay awake when tired. We push through when rest is needed. We treat time as something to manage rather than something to inhabit. Birds invite us to soften this approach. As you lie here now, notice how your body relates to time. Perhaps your breath has slowed. Perhaps your thoughts are less linear. This is not something you need to control. It is your internal rhythm reasserting itself. You do not need to measure how long it takes to fall asleep. You do not need to predict what comes next. Like a bird at dusk, you can simply respond to the fading light of awareness. Time does not need to be held. It can circle gently around you. When darkness settles, many birds retreat into stillness, but some awaken. Owls, nightjars, and other nocturnal birds begin their quiet work as daylight fades. Their lives unfold mostly unseen, shaped by shadow and silence rather than brightness. To them, night is not an absence of life. It is a different texture of awareness. Night birds are designed for softness. Their feathers are specially shaped to reduce sound, allowing them to move through air almost silently. Their hearing is acute, tuned to the smallest movements. Their eyes gather faint light, creating images where others would see only darkness. This is not intensity, it is sensitivity. Night birds do not rush through the dark. They listen, they pause, they wait. Their movements are deliberate and measured, conserving energy and attention. In the absence of visual noise, the world becomes simpler, more focused. There is something deeply comforting about this hidden rhythm. While much of the world sleeps, life continues quietly. Balance is maintained. Nothing needs to be forced. The night holds its own kind of order. As you rest now, you are closer to this nocturnal rhythm than to the busy pace of the day. Your senses soften. Your attention narrows. Sounds feel farther away, less demanding. You don't need to see everything clearly. You don't need to stay alert. Like a night bird, you are allowed to move through darkness with trust, trusting that awareness does not disappear when light fades. It simply changes shape. Let the night do some of the work for you. Let quiet guide you inward. Hidden lives continue all around you, gently, patiently, and you are safe to rest among them. Birds see a world that is both familiar and quietly unimaginable to us. Their eyes are shaped differently, placed to balance awareness and focus. Some birds see with wide fields of view, able to notice movement almost all around them. Others see forward with precision, tracking detail across distance. But beyond shape and placement, there is something even more subtle. Many birds can see colours we cannot. Their vision extends into ultraviolet light, a range invisible to human eyes. Feathers that look plain to us may glow with patterns and contrasts when seen through a bird's perception. What appears simple may actually be richly textured, layered with signals and meaning. From a scientific view, this helps birds recognize one another, find food, and navigate their environment. But tonight, we don't need to imagine these colors clearly. We only need to sense the idea that the world holds more than we notice. This is a calming thought. It suggests that reality is not exhausted by our attention, that unseen layers exist quietly alongside what we perceive. We don't need to uncover them. We don't need to understand them fully. It is enough to know they are there. Birds move through these layers effortlessly. They do not question what they see. They respond. Their vision is not analytical. It is practical, immediate, and calm. The world offers information, and the bird receives just enough. As humans, we often strain our attention. We try to see everything, understand everything, anticipate everything. This can exhaust the mind. Birds remind us that perception can be selective, gentle even. As you rest now, you don't need to sharpen your awareness. You don't need to watch your thoughts closely. Let perception soften. Let the edges blur. You can trust that even when your awareness dims, life continues clearly enough. Like a bird closing its eyes on a branch, you're allowed to let the world fade, knowing it will still be there when you wake. A bird's beak is shaped by patience. Over many generations, small changes accumulate, guided not by intention but by usefulness. Long, slender beaks reach into flowers. Short, strong beaks crack seeds. Curved beaks tear gently. Flat beaks sift water. Each shape fits a way of living, refined quietly over time. From a scientific perspective, this is evolution at work, form following function, but there is nothing hurried about it. No design meeting, no sudden shift, just gradual alignment between body and environment. A beak does not try to be versatile, it tries to be enough. This is what makes it so calming to consider. Birds do not carry tools, they become them. Their needs are met not through excess, but through specialization that feels natural and unforced. When a bird feeds, there is no confusion about how to do it. The movement is simple, familiar, repeated countless times without strain. The beak meets food, energy is restored, life continues. As humans, we often feel the opposite. We try to do many things at once. We stretch ourselves thin, adapting constantly, switching roles, switching focus. Rest can feel complicated because our tools, mental and emotional, are scattered. Birds show us another possibility. You don't need to be prepared for everything tonight. You don't need to be adaptable in this moment. You only need to rest. Imagine your thoughts becoming simpler, shaped gently for one purpose only: restoration. Imagine your attention narrowing just enough to meet the moment you're in. Like a beak shaped for a single task, your mind can become focused on ease. Nothing extra, nothing missing, just enough, exactly as you are. Some birds live where the sky meets water. They drift on lakes, rivers and oceans, their bodies rising and falling with the smallest movements beneath them. To watch a water bird is to watch balance made visible. The surface may ripple, currents may shift, but the bird remains calm, floating without effort. This calm comes from design. Water birds have feathers coated with natural oils that repel water, keeping the skin beneath dry and warm. Air becomes trapped between feather layers, adding buoyancy. Feet are often webbed, spreading pressure gently across the surface, allowing smooth movement without sinking. From a scientific view, this is physics and biology working together. But from a quieter view, it feels like trust. The bird does not fight the water, it rests on it. Even waves do not disturb this rest. The bird moves with them, not against them. Rise and fall become part of the same motion. Nothing is resisted, nothing is forced. This is why water birds are so soothing to watch. They mirror a rhythm we instinctively crave, a rhythm of yielding rather than controlling, of allowing support to come from beneath instead of pushing forward constantly. As you lie here now, imagine yourself floating in the same way. Your body is already supported. The surface beneath you holds your weight evenly, just as water holds a bird. You do not need to tense to stay afloat. You do not need to adjust. If your breath rises, let it rise. If it falls, let it fall. Like gentle waves, each breath moves through you and passes on. Water birds remind us that rest does not mean stopping movement. It means moving with what is already there. Tonight you are allowed to float. There is a deep calm shared between two very different acts: a bird floating on water, a bird floating on air. At first, they seem opposite. One rests on a solid surface of liquid, the other moves through open space. But in truth, both rely on the same principle: trust in support that cannot be held. Water holds because of buoyancy. Air holds because of pressure and flow. In both cases, the bird does not grip. It does not brace itself. It allows its body to settle into balance, responding gently to movement rather than resisting it. This is a rare kind of trust. The bird does not constantly check if it is being supported. It does not anticipate collapse. It simply rests into the relationship between body and environment. As you rest now, you can explore this same sensation. Notice how your body is held, not by effort but by contact. The surface beneath you responds quietly, distributing your weight. There's nothing you need to do to maintain this support. If you imagine floating, you don't need to picture water or sky clearly. Just the feeling of being carried without strain. Let your shoulders sink slightly, let your jaw loosen, let your tongue rest easily in your mouth. These are small signals of trust. When birds float, they do not stop being alert entirely, but their alertness is soft, not tense. They remain aware without holding themselves rigid. This is the balance between safety and ease. You can allow yourself that balance now. You're safe enough to soften. You're supported enough to rest. Nothing needs to be held together by force. Like a bird suspended gently by invisible systems, you can let go, knowing that support remains. When birds move together, something remarkable happens. There is no leader at the front issuing commands, no single bird deciding the path, and yet the flock turns, rises, and shifts as if guided by a shared mind. Each bird responds only to its nearest neighbours, small adjustments, tiny changes in speed or direction. And from these simple interactions, harmony emerges. Science tells us that flocking is based on local awareness. A bird watches just a few others nearby. It aligns gently. It keeps a respectful distance. No bird needs to understand the whole pattern for the pattern to exist. This is deeply calming. It means that order does not require control. Direction does not require force. Balance can arise naturally when each part responds with care. In a flock, effort is distributed. No single bird carries the burden of navigation alone. Wind resistance is shared. Safety is shared. Movement becomes easier because it is collective. As humans, we often feel as though we must hold everything ourselves, our plans, our responsibilities, our sense of direction. Rest can feel impossible when we believe we are the only ones keeping things together. But birds remind us that life does not always work that way. You do not need to see the whole path tonight. You do not need to guide every thought. You can allow yourself to respond only to what is close, the feeling of breath, the weight of your body, the quiet of the room. Like a bird in a flock, you are supported by systems larger than you. Gravity, time, night itself. They're already carrying direction for you. All you need to do is soften into alignment. Movement towards sleep can happen without effort when you stop trying to lead it. Sometimes, flocks of birds move in ways that feel almost unreal. Thousands of bodies rise and fall together, folding into shapes that appear and dissolve in the sky. These movements are called murmurations, and they are not planned. There is no hidden design the birds are trying to create. The patterns emerge simply because each bird is paying close attention to the space immediately around it. One bird turns slightly, another follows. A ripple passes through the flock. What looks complex from a distance is made of very simple rules. Stay close but not too close. Move in the same general direction. Adjust gently when your neighbour does. That is all. From a scientific perspective, murmurations help birds stay safe. Predators find it difficult to focus on a single target when everything is moving together. But beyond survival, there is something profoundly soothing about watching these living patterns unfold. They remind us that complexity can arise from calm, simple actions. The birds are not thinking ahead. They are not trying to create beauty. They are responding moment by moment to what is happening now, and beauty appears as a side effect of attention. This is an important idea for rest. We often believe that calm requires control, that we must organize our thoughts, quiet our minds, manage our breathing. But murmurations suggest another possibility. Calm can emerge naturally when we respond gently to the present moment, without trying to shape the outcome. As you lie here now, notice how your body makes small adjustments on its own. A shift in position, a deeper breath, a subtle release of tension. These are your own murmuration, tiny movements creating a larger sense of ease. You do not need to coordinate them. You do not need to direct them. Let patterns form on their own. Like birds in the sky, your thoughts may still move. They may swirl briefly, forming shapes you don't need to follow. If you watch without attachment, they will change, dissolve, and pass. Order can emerge without effort. Rest can arrive without instruction. All you need is gentle attention and the willingness to let go of control. In forests, birds become part of the architecture. They move through layers of leaves and branches the way water moves through stone, quietly shaping the space without ever claiming it. Some birds stay close to the forest floor, others live high in the canopy, and many move between these layers, carrying seeds, sounds, and life with them. From a scientific view, birds are essential to forests. They spread seeds, control insects, and help maintain balance. But these roles are not performed with urgency. They happen slowly as a natural result of living. A bird does not wake up intending to shape an ecosystem. It simply eats, rests, moves, and the forest responds. This quiet influence is part of what makes forests feel alive yet calm. Nothing dominates, everything participates. Birds do not overwhelm the space with sound. Their calls are absorbed by leaves softened by distance woven into the background hum of life. When you walk in a forest, birds often reveal themselves only briefly. A flutter, a call from somewhere unseen, a shadow moving between branches. Their partial presence allows the mind to wander without being pulled into focus. This is deeply soothing. It mirrors the way rest should feel, supported by life but not crowded by it. As you rest now, imagine a forest at night. The air is cool, the trees are still. Birds are settled, hidden among branches, their bodies small and warm against bark and leaf. Nothing is happening that needs your attention. The forest holds them. The sight holds the forest. And in the same way, this moment holds you. You do not need to participate actively. You can simply be part of the quiet system, breathing, resting, supported. Like a bird in the trees, you belong to this stillness. Even in places shaped almost entirely by humans, birds find ways to live. They perch on ledges where cliffs once were. They nest in corners where stone and metal meet. They follow streets and rivers of air, adapting quietly to a world that moves faster than they do. Cities may feel loud and crowded to us, but birds move through them with selective attention. They choose what to notice. They ignore what they don't need. From a scientific perspective, urban birds adapt their calls to rise above background noise. They adjust feeding times. They learn new routes. But these adaptations are not signs of stress alone. They are signs of flexibility, of life's ability to find calm pathways even in busy environments. What is most comforting is how birds keep their essential rhythms. They still rest, they still preen, they still pause. Even with lights and motion around them, birds create pockets of stillness. A pigeon tucked into a building ledge, a sparrow resting on a wire at dusk, a gull floating patiently near a quiet pier. These moments remind us that calm is not dependent on perfect conditions. It can exist anywhere. As humans, we often believe rest requires silence, darkness, and distance from activity. While those things help, birds show us another truth. Rest is also an internal alignment, a choice, sometimes unconscious, to soften rather than resist. As you lie here now, you may still sense distant sounds, a hum, a faint movement. You don't need to push them away. Let them exist at the edges of awareness, like traffic far below a resting bird. The bird does not try to silence the city. It simply settles above it. You can do the same. Let the world continue quietly around you. You're allowed to rest within it, untouched, held slightly apart by calm. Imagine a single feather loosening from a wing. There is no sound when it begins to fall, no sudden drop. The feather drifts, turning slowly, guided by the smallest movements of air. It does not hurry toward the ground. It does not resist the descent. It simply participates in it. This motion is gentle enough to calm the eyes, even in the mind. The feather turns, it pauses, it turns again. Air meets it from every side, shaping the fall into something unforced. Gravity is present, but it is not heavy, it is patient. The feather does not need to decide where to go. The path reveals itself moment by moment. This is one of the softest images nature offers us. A feather falling is not an event. It is a process, slow, continuous, without urgency. Time stretches around it. Attention narrows. Thoughts naturally quiet, as if they too are drifting downward. As you rest now, let this image remain simple. You don't need to visualize details, just the sensation of easing downward, of letting the air do the guiding, of releasing control without losing support. If your breath is shallow, let it be. If it deepens, let that happen too. Like the feather, you are not responsible for the descent. Sleep does not need to be aimed for. It arrives when resistance softens enough to allow it. Notice how little effort this image requires. Notice how nothing needs to be held in place. Your thoughts can loosen one by one like feathers releasing themselves naturally. Each thought drifts. Each sensation settles. There is no bottom you need to reach. Just movement, becoming quieter as it goes. Let yourself fall at the feather's pace, slow, unmeasured, unafraid. Long before humans ever left the ground, flight lived quietly in the imagination. People watched birds and felt something stir, not envy, but wonder. Flight did not look like power. It looked like freedom shaped by restraint. Wings moved only as much as needed. Bodies stayed light. Motion followed invisible rules that felt elegant rather than forceful. Birds taught us that flight is not about escaping the earth. It is about relating to it differently. To fly is not to reject gravity, but to understand it well enough to move with it. This idea has echoed through human thought for centuries, in stories, in art, in quiet moments of looking up. Birds became symbols not because they were distant, but because they were present, always nearby, always reminding us that another way of moving through life exists. Even today, when humans fly inside machines, the experience still carries a trace of that original wonder. The feeling of lift, the moment when the ground falls away, the soft silence above the clouds. These moments calm us because they echo something ancient we first learned from birds. But tonight, you don't need to imagine flying yourself. You only need to feel what the idea of flight offers: lightness without escape, movement without urgency, freedom without chaos. As you lie here, your body does not need to leave where it is, but your mind can loosen its grip on weight, on obligation, on direction, on effort. Flight, as an idea, invites release. Release from needing to push forward. Release from needing to arrive. Like a bird gliding, you can let this moment carry you, not somewhere else, but deeper into rest. Across cultures and centuries, birds have quietly shaped the way humans think. They appear in myths and symbols, not as conquerors of the sky, but as messengers, guides, and gentle witnesses. Birds are often placed between worlds, between earth and sky, life and death, waking and dreaming. Not because they are mysterious, but because they move easily between spaces we experience as separate. A bird can be grounded one moment, airborne the next. It can vanish into distance, then return without explanation. This ease has always stirred human imagination. People did not look at birds and think of domination. They thought of permission. Permission to imagine life as lighter, to believe that movement could be graceful rather than forceful. That change could happen without breaking what came before. Even today, when we see birds in stories or dreams, they rarely represent urgency. They represent perspective, distance, a widening of view. They invite us to step back from details and remember the larger flow of things. This is why birds feel so present in quiet moments. They appear when the mind relaxes enough to notice them. When attention softens, imagination opens naturally. There is no effort involved. The image arrives gently, then drifts away. As you rest now, you don't need to imagine anything vivid. You don't need symbols or stories to make sense. Simply notice how the idea of birds creates space in the mind. Thoughts feel less dense, emotions feel less heavy. Imagination does not pull you away from rest. It supports it, giving the mind something gentle to float on, without needing to hold on. Birds remind us that wonder does not require intensity. It can exist quietly alongside calm. Let your imagination be light tonight. Let it wander without direction. Like a bird passing through the edge of awareness, it can appear and disappear without disturbing your rest. Sound has a way of carrying memory without asking permission. A single bird song can return you to another place. A quiet morning, an open window, a moment when time felt slower. These memories don't arrive as full stories. They come as feelings, as atmosphere, as a soft shift in the body. Birdsong is especially gentle in this way because it is rarely tied to urgency. It does not warn of deadlines or demand response. It simply exists briefly, then fades. The mind receives it without bracing itself. From a scientific perspective, familiar natural sounds can activate calming pathways in the brain. They signal safety, continuity, a world that is functioning as it should. But again, you don't need to know this to feel it. Your body responds long before thought does. Birdsong often blends into the background of memory, rather than standing at the center. That is why it feels soothing instead of overwhelming. It becomes part of the setting, not the focus. As you lie here now, you may notice how sound behaves differently at night. Everything feels farther away, softer, less defined. Even the idea of birdsong may feel distant, as if heard through layers of air and time. That distance is comforting. It tells the mind that it does not need to stay alert, that it can loosen its grip on the present moment and allow memory and sensation to blur together. If a memory arises of a place, a time, a feeling, let it pass without examination. You don't need to relive it. You don't need to hold it. Like a bird's call, it can appear, echo lightly, and fade. Rest does not erase memory. It softens its edges. And in that softness, sleep finds space to arrive. Birds did not appear suddenly, fully formed. They emerged slowly, shaped over immense stretches of time by countless small adjustments. Feathers first evolved not for flight, but for warmth and display. Wings were once forelimbs. Flight itself was an outcome, not a goal, something that became possible only after enough quiet changes had accumulated. Evolution, in this sense, is not dramatic. It does not announce itself. It does not rush toward results. It works patiently, sculpting life through subtle variation and gentle selection. Traits that help a bird rest, move, or survive just a little better tend to remain. Others fade away. Over time, what remains feels almost inevitable, as if it could not have been any other way. This process is deeply calming to contemplate. It reminds us that perfection is not required for progress, that becoming happens gradually, often without awareness, that life is shaped not by sudden breakthroughs, but by small, repeated moments of enough. Birds did not need to know they were becoming creatures of flight. They simply lived generation after generation, responding to their environments. And in that responding, something beautiful emerged. As you rest now, you are also shaped by quiet processes. Your body repairs itself while you sleep. Your mind integrates experiences without effort. Balance is restored without conscious work. You do not need to oversee this sculpting. You do not need to improve yourself tonight. Rest is not a tool for becoming better. It is part of how becoming happens naturally. Like evolution, sleep works slowly. It favors patience over force. and in its own quiet way it shapes you, gently, invisibly, over time. When you watch a bird closely, it becomes clear that nothing is rushed. Eating happens when food is found. Movement happens when it is needed. Rest happens without apology. Life flows through birds in a steady, uncomplicated way, not because their lives are easy, but because they are aligned with cycles larger than themselves. Day and night, warm and cold, abundance and scarcity. Birds respond to these changes rather than resisting them. From a biological perspective, this responsiveness is essential. Energy must be conserved, risk must be balanced, timing matters. But emotionally, this way of living feels calming because it mirrors a truth we often forget. Life is not meant to be constant motion. There are moments for action and moments for stillness, and neither is more important than the other. Birds do not measure their worth by how much they accomplish in a day. Their lives are shaped by presence, not productivity. This flow extends through their entire existence. Birth arrives quietly, growth unfolds patiently, rest is taken when it is needed, and when life ends, it does so without resistance, becoming part of the larger system again. There is no sense of failure in this, only completion. As you lie here now, you are part of that same flow. Even if your day felt busy, fragmented, or heavy, this moment belongs to the quieter current beneath it all, the one that carries breath, the one that carries sleep. You do not need to fix the day before you rest. You do not need to prepare for tomorrow. Like a bird settling at the end of daylight, you can allow life to continue without your management. The flow does not stop when you rest. It becomes gentler. And in that gentleness, sleep waits. Patient, steady, ready to hold you. At the beginning of this journey, we asked a quiet question. Why do birds feel so calming to watch? Now, after drifting through wings and feathers, pauses and patterns, the answer no longer needs to be spoken clearly. It can be felt. Birds calm us because they live without hurry, because they rest without guilt, because they move through the world without carrying more than they need. They remind us that life can be light without being empty, purposeful without being tense. That rest is not something to earn, but something that belongs naturally to living beings. When we watch a bird perched in stillness, or gliding without effort, something in us recognizes that state, not as something foreign, but as something familiar, something we once knew and still know beneath layers of habit and expectation. This recognition is gentle. It does not demand change. It does not require understanding. It simply softens the edges of thought. As you lie here now, you don't need to hold on to the images or facts from this night. You don't need to remember feathers or flight or migration. What remains is a feeling, a quiet permission to slow down. Your body has already begun to respond. Breath is softer. Muscles are less alert. The mind is no longer scanning forward. Like a bird returning to a resting place, awareness is settling inward. The question has done its work. Why do birds calm us? Because they show us how to belong to time instead of racing through it, how to trust support instead of bracing against it, how to rest as part of life, not as a pause from it. You don't need to answer the question anymore. You can let it dissolve. Like a bird's call fading into distance, it can disappear, leaving only quiet behind. If you watch a bird at rest, its breathing is almost invisible. The chest moves slightly. Feathers lift and settle. There is no effort to control the rhythm. Breath happens because it can. Because the body knows when to inhale and when to release. This is how breathing is meant to feel. As humans, we often interfere with it. We hold our breath without noticing. We shorten it when we're tense. We try to manage it when we're anxious. But birds do none of this. Their breathing remains responsive, not regulated by thought. When a bird flies, breath and movement are connected. When it rests, breath slows naturally. The body shifts between these states without struggle. You can allow the same ease now. There is no need to breathe deeply on purpose, no need to count. Just notice how breath already moves through you. Perhaps it feels like a gentle wave. Perhaps it pauses briefly before returning. Whatever it is enough. Imagine each breath as a wing opening and then folding back in. Inhale, a slight widening. Exhale, a soft return. Nothing more is required. If your mind drifts, that's fine. If awareness fades, that's welcome. Breathing will continue without your supervision, just as it does for birds perched in sleep. You do not need to guide rest. You do not need to monitor it. Like wings folding at the end of flight, your breath can settle into stillness on its own. After time spent imagining wings and air, it is gentle to return to the ground. Birds always do. No matter how far they travel, no matter how high they rise, they come back to rest. A branch, a ledge, a quiet hollow. Flight is never endless. It is balanced by stillness. Settling is not a loss of freedom. It is a completion of motion. When a bird returns to Earth, its body knows exactly how to arrive. Wings fold, weight redistributes, muscles release. There is no abrupt stop, just a gradual easing into contact. You can feel that easing now. Notice where your body meets the surface beneath you, the way your weight spreads out, the way gravity holds you without pressure. There is nothing to resist. The Earth has been doing this work all along. If you imagine the day you've had, you don't need to review it. You don't need to evaluate it. Like a bird landing at dusk, you can let the day end simply because it has reached its natural close. Thoughts may still pass through. That's fine. They can pass like distant movement, not something that requires action. You're not being pulled back to Earth. You're being received by it. This moment is not about grounding yourself with effort. It is about noticing that grounding is already happening. The world is stable enough to hold you. The night is quiet enough to protect you. Let your awareness sink a little lower. Let your attention soften into the body. Like a bird settling after flight, you can allow movement to become rest without needing to decide when it happens. As night deepens, the world is not empty. It becomes quieter, but not absent. Creatures settle into hidden places. Movement slow. Life continues in a softer register, one that does not ask to be noticed. Birds are part of this quiet network. Some sleep with heads tucked into feathers. Some rest with eyes half closed, alert only enough to remain safe. Others, the night birds, move gently through darkness, aware without disturbance. Together, they maintain a balance that does not rely on constant activity. This quiet belongs to everyone. The night does not demand productivity. It does not reward alertness. It invites withdrawal, a turning inward, away from the sharp edges of the day. Birds respond to this invitation naturally. Their bodies understand when to soften. Humans once did too. As you rest now, you are joining this quieter world. You don't need to participate actively. You don't need to listen closely anymore. The words can drift past without being held. If your awareness dims, that is a sign of alignment, not something to resist. The night is doing what it is meant to do. You're not disappearing into sleep. You're joining a wider stillness. Somewhere outside, birds are already there, resting, waiting, breathing slowly. You don't need to imagine them clearly. Just knowing they exist is enough. You're not alone in this quiet. You are part of it. At the end of the day, a bird does not question rest. It does not review what it accomplished or failed to do. It does not plan tomorrow before settling in. It simply finds a place that feels safe enough and allows stillness to arrive. You can rest in the same way. Imagine your body as it is now, exactly as it needs to be. There is no posture to correct, no thought to finish, no awareness to maintain. Like a bird perched securely, you are already in the right place. Your muscles can soften further. Your face can release its expression. Your breath can become quieter. almost unnoticeable. If thoughts appear, let them perch briefly, then let them go. Birds do not cling to branches that sway too much. Neither do you need to hold on to any idea that disturbs your ease. This moment is not preparation, it is arrival. You've arrived at rest, even if sleep has not fully taken you yet. That is enough. Birds often rest in stages, eyes closing for moments, awareness drifting in and out. You are allowed the same gentle rhythm. Nothing is expected of you now. Nothing is missing. Like a bird resting under the protection of night, you're safe to let awareness fade. Softly, naturally, without effort. Birds have shown us this truth all along. Movement flows into stillness. Sound flows into silence. Day flows into night. Nothing is forced. Nothing is held apart. Life continues by yielding from one state into the next, as gently as wings folding at rest. You don't need to think anymore. You don't need to listen closely. The journey has already done its work. Breath moves, the body rests, the mind loosens its edges. Like feathers settling after flight, everything finds its place naturally. Everything flows. Sleep in that motion.